Good evening to all. Welcome to BCF International Webinar. On behalf of BCF India, I am happy in introducing our today's speaker, Mr. Attila Totoshi and Mr. Zoltan Series, CEO, founder, On Earth Mission, Florida, United States.
Let me introduce first Mr. Attila. He is a multidimensional personality and taking a various position in the society as an ecosystem engineer, dedicated environmentalist, earth and ocean warrior, explorer, and inventor, technologist, entrepreneurship, management, marketing, and so on. He also completed recreation, psychology, and communication, SOAT, Physical University during the year 1997-99. Dr. Attila also completed business administration and management during 1998 to 2000. He is very much interested towards communication and he did his communication in SDCC, Linda Vista, Santiago, 2007. Currently, Attila is technology IP holder, inventor, principal CEO, founder for Sunshine Green Environmental Protection. He is a business owner for Francisco Sunshine Green Energy and Enzyme Detailing since 2017. He worked as a managing partner, Bridge to Florida Inc. during 2016 and 17. Also, he has worked for East European Director of Business Development, Florida International Chamber of Commerce during 2015 and 17. He was very fortunate to meet with a breakthrough undescriptive technology in 2010. It was a milestone during his lifetime. He was looking forward various problems, which is where the entire globe is facing. Yes, collapse of nature environment, which paved a way on to On Earth Mission X, which lead a Poseidon-Project that targeted to get a balance back in the ocean, marine, and water environment. As an ecosystem engineer, Mr. Attila geared up on Earth Mission X, which is a primary focus on ocean, decontaminate, regenerate the ocean floor and the water body, treat, heal, and revive the coral reefs, and more importantly, create a very good balance towards the phytoplanktons. Their flagship project is to clean up the ocean floor from oily toxic sediment and bioremediate the aquatic environment after the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. It is a part of Poseidon-Project that it is targeted to eliminate the acidification to create a healthy condition in the ocean and marine waters. Also, I'm glad in welcoming one other speaker, Mr. Zoltan Series. He was spending his time as a surgical resident for more than 3.5 years. His passion over dolphins brought him from a small village of Hungary to California, which is very close by to the Pacific Ocean. He won a patent in 1987 for the real invention on educational game puzzle. The basic principle of game was an inspiration for creating 3 different outcomes for the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland. In Japan Disneyland, it took a new shape of pyramid and partial ownership for the patent and the publication related to the similar product to his main invention. Since 2010, he was deeply touched into the Deepwater Horizon and dedicated his life to develop a solution to bring back the ocean and working on for solving the problem at the source level. Thank you for taking your time and joining Mr. Zoltan and waiting to listen at your experience. Good luck for both of you for the 3rd Mission X in 2030. And BCF is happy in connecting the multidimensional personality, Mr. Attila and Mr. Zoltan Series on this virtual platform and waiting to listen on oil spill and mitigation using organic technologies. Over to you, Mr. Attila. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for the great introduction. And I didn't know that I have such a long past like this, but it's real. My life and what I live now, I started in 2010. So this is our webinar agenda. The topics are clear. We design our webinar for 2 parts. In the first section, we introduce the technology, bridging a new science to the industry, and it's really what we do, bridging the science to the industry, using the research and the results of the science how we clean up oil spill using our organic-based technology. It's our invention, so we are not sure everybody will understand everything at first glance. But of course, scientists knows about that because we use the principles of the science and the common biology. Therefore, we leave time for the questions after the presentation. Our technology is not limited to only oil spill cleanup. Scientific research, testing, and data shows the effectiveness in several other areas like algae cleanup, plant recovery, toxic oil and soil cleaning. Otherwise, problems sometimes are connected to each other, like now in Mauritius, when the technology the cleanup team used caused probably an algal bloom. It's very important to know and get knowledge about the history of our technology. Just to make sure, at the beginning, we are talking about 3 different technologies. First, Enzinox as a powerful organic enzyme derived from and produced by a special combination of selected earthworms that creates a synergy. The second is the bioremediation agent powder, and then we combine these two, creating the third one, named Brainzinox. It's a very interesting point when we are talking about this, because we have a mission. That name is Mission X. Actually, One Earth Mission X, this is the name of the company, and we also have a non-profit organization with this name for those philanthropic and organizational entities who like what we do and ready to contribute to our work, or even they want to be part of our endeavor and save the future together. In our mission, the X means decades. You see on the left, 2000, then 10, 20, and 30. For us, the story of the technology with the enzyme research and development with smaller project testing started in 2000. The next milestone was in 2010, when I personally joined the mission 10 years ago. Interestingly, my partner Zoltan also started his mission in a different avenue in 2010. Otherwise, accidentally, Deepwater Horizon also occurred in 2010 and became a part of our history and one of our goals. Now we are in 2020, we formatted Mission X, and we also created last year the third technology, Brainzinox. You see the date, 2030. A lot of people, scientists, groups are talking about this date. Great organizations put this on their flag, like ARC 2030. There is a slogan of 30 by 30 and so many more. Why can be like this? Maybe the best explanation is in 2018, lead scientist in the United Nations stated, mankind have 12 years to take effective steps to find a solution for climate change. Otherwise, we can pass the point where there is no return. The 12 years will end in 2030. So it is the final X that is the target and destination for us. 2030 for us is the turning point. But until that, we want to do everything we can. We do have 3 legs of the chair as pillars to do the most as humans can do. It is the technology, passion, and dedication. The only one is missing. We definitely have to have crisis management plan. We have 10 years. But if we do not start effective actions, then definitely less. Mankind has to create a systematic crisis management plan as soon as possible that has to be assessed what is necessary and reasonable and needs to be done. It has to be involved in the key points. Scientists have to define the key points, but it's necessary not just talking about that. Awareness is not enough anymore. We have to take immediate actions. I just name a few, like coral reef crisis management, but a good one, which is able to serve large areas. Weather treatment, agricultural land management, because of the over-fertilization is killing the waterways. At this point, it's connected to the water treatment because the biological pollution at coastal, where the population is, most of the time is coming from the land. That overfishing, deforestation, plant recovery management, creating an effective oil spill response task force, and more, most importantly, creating and using renewable energy sources. The capabilities of our technology is very wide. The organic enzyme, what we have, produced by and derived from a special combination of earthworms, where the components of the end product are working together at a high level of synergy. Earthworms are well researched. The Chinese use them for thousands of years, some of them as straight medicine in the pharma industry. But the gardeners also use earthworms for soil quality improvement. The earthworms, like an ecosystem engineers like we are, where is the problem? They will fix it. One thing is sure, Darwin researched the earthworms for 39 years, and he said they are the most viable and most important species on the planet. Here is the answer why. They have special decontamination, detoxification, antibacterial, and overall regeneration abilities. The most important is it works in a systematic way. It doesn't matter if it is water, soil, plant, or any medium, the organic enzyme will make its job. Even oil spill, blue green algae, red tide, coral bacteria, plant bacteria, or a bacterial infection in a living organism, like in animal husbandry. We do have not just research projects, but a few laboratory testing, scientific data to prove our claims. You cannot use earthworms directly because if you do it in soil, they will clean the soil and make it fertile. That generates healthier, larger crops, but they can run away or they can ruin the structure of the soil. If we put earthworms in water, they drown. But when we have the effective liquid formula of their enzyme, like a liquid gold, and we can produce a large volume of it, serve big projects, then we can apply it with confidence. This way, we will make a balance in the ecosystem. Our second technology, it's brain Xenox.
I think I'm going to talk more about the brain Xenox myself. The brain Xenox is my invention. I invented actually this product for the Mexican Gulf. 10 years ago, I was involved with the Mexican Gulf oil disaster that happened. And I was trying to sell some sort of product to something similar to BP at that point. And I was actually trying to selling it to them as a bioremediation agent. And I found out that the product was actually a construction material. So at that point, I couldn't realize a business with BP. And I actually joined 2 engineers and incorporated with them, and I created BrainSynux, which is a temporary hydrophobic calcium-based powder. This powder is a selective absorbent. The BrainSynux actually means bio. The B is for bio, the R is for remediation, the A is for agent. The I in the name means it is an intelligent formula because we can actually manipulate this vehicle, and we can carry materials, different kind of active ingredients to locations wherever it's needed. Like an example, at the time when I was negotiating with BP, I was working with the environmental consulting firm of BP. And at one point, they told me that the oil disappeared from the waters because it kind of disappeared from the surface. But they were using a thing called Corexit. Corexit is a dispersant material that actually poisoned the waters further on and made the oil sink. This at that time, I actually talked to the engineers at Arcadis. Arcadis is the environmental consulting firm of BP, and I told them that, to my knowledge, I believe the oil was on the seafloor. About 2 weeks later, they sent me a report that was done by a scientist to show that, yes, I was right. The oil ended up on the seafloor. And for the past 10 years, the seafloor was covered with oil. And the oil acidifies the water. As the oil is in contact with the water, it acidifies the water at the depth. On the surface water, the carbon dioxide acidifies the water on the surface as well. And by acidifying the water, they destroy the plant-like microorganisms called the phytoplankton. The phytoplankton actually produces like half of our oxygen in the world. Basically, the oceans are part of our lungs, the Earth's lung. So it is very important that we keep the phytoplankton alive, and we provide food for the phytoplankton. We can cure the phytoplankton and replenish the pH balance. What happens with the acidification, by 0.1%, already kills out the plant-like microorganisms. So I created this product for the purpose of replenishing the food for the phytoplankton and replenishing the calcium in the waters. Scientists put out a lot of publications and reports saying that the calcium is depleting in the oceans. You know, when it's kind of a natural thing. You know, when we take fish out of the water, we don't throw the bones back. You know, that's the calcium part of it. That's where it would be replenished from. You know, if you keep the animals that they die in the waters, and most of the animals, they come out of the water, and you know, like dolphins right now in Mauritius too, and you know, they don't put the bones back. Anyway, other than that, naturally they should be able to replenish as well. There are some limestones underwater too, and so could be replenished from there, but there is a need for additional calcium as well. So our powder can actually replenish the calcium, raise the pH value, and with the enzyme, we can enable them to photosynthesize. Photosynthesis is the one, that's the process that turns the carbon dioxide into oxygen. So our brain Synapse is kind of simple but multi-use product. This one we can actually use for fire extinguishing. We can use it for absorb the oil, and because of the enzyme content, it breaks it down to, it bioremediates it basically. I was hoping that we will be able to show you a video where we can show you how we send the powder down to the seafloor, and the brain Synapse actually takes over the oil. It only absorbs the oil. It's a selective absorbent. We showed this to a couple of scientists, and they've never seen anything like this before. This one repels water, and it only absorbs the oil. And there is no invisible oil film on the water for us. We put this powder on the surface of the water. If there is any oil film, visible or invisible for the naked eye, this will find it, and it will absorb it and will bioremediate it. Is there going to be a video?
Yeah, it's on. It's a hydrophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zoltan. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that this powder, being hydrophobic, it can encapsulate things. So there is a multiple use for the powder in different applications. We can use it for sewer water treatment. We can encapsulate the solids and remove it from the sewer waters. There is, like I say, application of fire extinguishing. They use actually something similar to, when powder fire extinguishing agents they use, those are like in a sense of oil spills. They burned off a lot of oil in the Mexican Gulf at the time when the oil spill happened. And instead of burning off all the oil, we could have remediated with this powder because it absorbs the oil, it extinguishes the fire, and we can physically actually remove the oil from the waters 100%. There is no leftover in the water. We can completely remove the water.
Yeah. Actually,
the oil from the water.
The video surface water oil remover, it's on now. I mean the short demonstration test.
I actually don't see. Yeah, okay. It's going.
It's when we put
Kind of
oil.
choppy. The video is kind of choppy. Yeah, but.
Yeah, we put oil. Actually, it's a motor oil, but as we said, it doesn't matter which type of oil. When we talk with the scientists and people in Mauritius, and they said it's a difficult oil spill. We don't understand why it's difficult, because it's oil and the powder absorbs any kind of oil.
Any kind of oily substances, basically, any fatty acids.
So we try to keep this test very simple. Yeah. So actually, it's
if it will go a little faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually use. We can create pads. Whatever we impregnate the pad with this powder, and we just put it on the top of the water, and it absorbs all the oil, and it leaves the water. It completely removes the oil from the water. Let that be crude oil, let that be just motor oil, already refined oil, or just thin layer of oil, anything that, they were talking about that actually, that there are so much like a thin layer of oil, something that is invisible to the naked eye. But for us, it wouldn't be invisible because this powder only absorbs the oil. So it would find any oil that is floating on the surface of the water. At the same time, we can use this powder, like I said, with the powder makes anything, like we use ordinary sand, and we can make the sand water repellent. Actually, we can create water reservoirs with this very easily.
As you can see on this short video clip and tabletop settings, the physical cleanup part of the technology works very well, and the oil is absorbed by the powder and the pad. The surface of the water is crystal clear as before. Just keep in mind, this is not the complete treatment. If it's necessary, when the scientific testing shows toxicity, then the cleanup continues with application of the organic enzyme, Enzinox, if the oil already emulsified with the water body and the biodegradation of the oil to be started. This is another short demonstration, but with used motor oil. You can see it from the color of the oil. Because the used motor oil contains rust and other particles, it colorizes the water, and the water turns in light brownish color as the used oil emulsifies with it. The process is the same. We place the absorption pad, the powder in it, on the top of the water, and it starts to absorb the oil immediately in touch. In this video, we left the blotting pad on the water for 11 minutes, but it can be shorter, and of course, we cut the 40 seconds in the timeless video too. You can see we turn the blotting pad and try to absorb oil with the other side. But when we remove the pad, you can see the other side did not absorb anything, because the oil from the surface already absorbed by the original side that was touched with the surface oil. When we remove the pad, you can see there is no water dripping back to the surface. Of course not, because it does not absorb the water, only the oily substances. At the end, you can see the surface is clean. Yeah, and the next is the ocean floor cleanup. It's on.
Yeah. The ocean floor cleanup, we send them down. We add the powder, our brain Synox. We send it, we can just spoon it in or drop it in anywhere. It goes to the sea floor, and on the sea floor, it would only absorb the oil over from the sediment. It would leave the soil and the water clean. It would stop the oil from acidifying the water, basically. And this material is organic. It's made out of lime. It's made out of calcium, and that way we can replenish the calcium. Also, the calcium known to be close to 12 pH, and that one would help to balance the pH value. And the great thing in this product is that we can target areas where it's known to be acidified because of oil contamination, or like we were approached with some other type of poisonous materials. They're laying on the sea floor, and we can actually cover the things with it, and we can neutralize the poisons as well with our enzyme because that's added to the powder. And basically, this powder is acting like a pill, like a medication. When people take a medication, take a pill, and that one has like a calcium-based carrier, and then they put the active ingredient in there. We can do the same thing with this product because it doesn't get dissolved in water. It repels the water. We can carry this wherever we want. Any active ingredient like medication, some sort of food or anything for the corals. We can cure the corals with it. We can feed the corals with it, and so many things we can do with this product that applies in the ocean waters, lakes. We can use it for killing blue-green algae, red tide. We can mediate anything with it, basically. So this is something like I say, like the medication that we take into our body, and the enzyme act the same way as it acts in our body as well. For feeding when we eat something.
Yeah, actually, you can see it's a time-lapse video. It's very hard to see, but actually, the brancinox, the material absorbs the oil on the ocean floor. You can see how it is clearer and clearer.
We actually have some videos uploaded into YouTube, and we can provide those links probably in the chat section later on, and you will be able to take a look at each one of those, so you can see what it does. At the seafloor, we actually did two different kind of tests. One of them was sweet water. The other one was salt water. We can definitely see that the salt water is a little slower, and you can see that one of them is a little bit taller amount of water. And that was one of the questions from one of the scientists that this scientist actually wrote a report about the Mexican Gulf, that after 10 years, there is still oil on the seafloor, and there is no technology to clean this up. So I called him up and I showed him this video that I do have a technology for that. And he was like, what? So his question was, does it work in the depth of, let's say, 3,000 feet? Or does it work in cold? And does it perform under such a pressure, whatever it is down there? And the good thing about this product is that it's an ever-changing formula. We can calculate based on the pressure, based on the chemical formulation of the water. And I have a feeling that this might be an answer for one of the possible questions that, why do plant-like microorganisms die in the ocean? Because of acidification. The key in everything is the acidification, and by losing the pH value, as lower the pH value is, the acids, they dissolve the calcium-based shells, like shellfish or things like that. They get dissolved just by 0.1% of a drop in pH value. It creates acidification in the ocean.
Actually, on the top picture, we can see the average pH of the ocean. At the surface level, it's around 8.1.
If it just drops 0.1% in the pH value, it already dissolves the shellfish's calcium-based shells. So, with this, remediating the oceans with this product we need to do some tests, but this way, mitigating the waters, we can, because let's put it this way: the ocean floor, whatever's on the ocean floor right now, that oil is not only just an oil. Some of that was they tried to mitigate it with Corexit, which is like an alcohol type of dispersant. I believe that Mauritius right now they use something else, something that involved bacteria or things like that. So I'm not sure on that part, but our product can still clean that. If they poison the waters further yet, our stuff still cleans that. In mangroves and places like where they have water goes out to the beach, we just put this powder on it, and this powder removes all the oil, all the way to the last drop, from sand, from solid surface, from plants, that are like canes and stuff like that in the water. And we put the powder on it, it just removes everything and could be washed back into the waters, because this one will break down the oil and makes it into food for the phytoplankton and the plant-like microorganisms, the plants, and so on. So basically, when we remove, we have a brain Synox light, we have a brain Synox heavy, two different type as the that is in mixture of natural products as well, things like plant type of absorbent fibers, things we put something light in there to be able to absorb the oil, and we make the anything we mix with our powder, we'll make it water repellent, oily substance, absorbent. So let that be gasoline, let that be diesel, let that be any type of oil. We can completely remove it from the water, any water. Let that be sweet water, salt water, etc. Our product has many features that could be used in green energy production and so on. But that's another topic that we could talk about later on. For right now, that's all we want to tell you. Like on these pictures, you see like ship is burning over there. They did that for get rid of most of the oil, but with that they harm the ocean. With this product, they don't have to do that. We can actually put out the fire. Tankers, they can carry our product on board. Like in Sri Lanka, not long ago, they had a fire in a ship. They were dropping in something similar from an airplane, from an aircraft, a helicopter. They were dropping it in to put out the fire. They could have that, our product, they could have it on board, and they could have put out the fire easily. And this is not harmful. As a matter of fact, this one could have been disposed in the ocean, in the waters, and would have feed the phytoplankton and the living creatures. So it could be spread with an airplane or anything. You can just spread it on, real thin layer on the top of the water. It will float until it finds oil, and it remediates it. It's like an automatic solution for removing oil from the water surface, and for like seafloor cleanup, we can target certain areas. We can target corals, and we can carry active ingredients to the corals, meaning we can send the enzymes or anything that needs to cure the coral with, and we can feed the corals with it. Right now, that is another issue in the world, that the corals are dying in a very high percentage, like in a 70%, up to like 70% rate. They are getting bleached, so-called bleached, but all that is because of the acidification of the waters. The temperature is changing, and this is my take on the whole thing. If we remediate all the oil spills and everything, I'm pretty sure the temperature would change back as well. So we could actually control the environment with remediating the oceans. That's where the root of the problem is, in the oceans. You know, there is close in the Bahamas not long ago, there was oil contamination over there. There was an oil spill there, and they just cannot clean it up 100%. But what we can do, we can. I mean, we can target any little spot. If we find a spot in the water, we can clean it up with our brain Synox. And the great thing is, everything is from nature. We just turn them back into nature. And this is a completely biodegradable product. So it would just help the oceans, help the waters. Like I say, we can use them in sewer water treatment. Takes the odors away, encapsulating the solids. We can turn it into fertilizer, something we can take it, and it's organic. You know, we can take it out on the fields and, you know, fertilize plants with it. The enzyme, if there was pesticides used on the fields, on the land, you know, the enzyme would neutralize the pesticides as well, like DDT, all the poisons, and anything carbon-based poisons we can mediate with this product.
And it's very interesting because I have seen a few articles, and scientists now are talking about that maybe the artificial alkalinization can be a solution for the acidification. And we can answer, yes, it can be, but our stuff, brain Synox, is not an artificial, it's an organic alkalinization. And as a summary, when we clean the ocean floor, we absorb the oil, neutralize it, and release calcium and enzyme to the water. And this way, we regenerate the water body from the bottom to the top. And when the top...
So basically... that is our IP, the intellectual property that, you know, what we do in the crisis management situation. Like in, let's take Mauritius as an example. You know, that Japanese ship broke in half and whatever, partial, broke off, and they spilled 1,000 tons of oil. The cost of cleaning up that oil with conventional methods, it would probably cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Ours will be below $100 million. It happened about 5 years ago in Santa Barbara. There was an oil spill, something similar to this. It cost them over like $300 million to clean it up. And I actually approached the company who did the cleaning, and I saw the people. They were using toothbrushes, and they were brushing like little stones on the beach. They were brushing it with toothbrushes, and they never clean it up. But they charge like $40-50 an hour for doing the toothbrush method. Instead of, they could have just throw a little bit of powder on it, and that would have cleaned up everything. All you can do is just wash it off with water, and that goes for birds, that goes for animals, and you know, this is a healthy thing. So there is no harm to anything. All we do is just clean up, bioremediate it. It will be biodegrading in the waters, and it will become food if we leave it in. We can also remove it physically, because we can, like a screen, like something, we can just go under it, we can lift it out, and then we can reclaim the oil. Let's say there was crude oil that was spilled on the water. We can completely remove it, put them in centrifuges, and then we can reclaim the oil. At least 80% could be useful still. with our Brain Synox Lite, which is, like I say, that we use some fiber particles in there that is also from plant-like fibers, really light, so it would float on the top of the water. That was one of the key question was for EPA 10 years ago when we were trying to pass that construction material for cleaning the ocean, the Mexican Gulf. That was one of the questions, that they needed the material to float for 24 hours on its own, so it could be physically removed. And that is something that you could and you can, if you use something poisonous, and you should. If you use poisonous stuff to mediate it, to remediate it, then you should remove it. But in our case, we could have just let it go down and sink it into the water. That would replenish the calcium, would give it enzyme, and it would be just food for the living creatures in the waters. So this is basically, if anyone has questions, or just a question. Did you ever see anything like that is hydrophobic and only absorbs oil or oily substances?
Yeah, it's a very good point.
That would be a question for everybody involved.
Yeah. At the end we'll come back to this point, and I'm sure you will have a lot of questions. Yeah, it's good, because when the oil cleanup companies, other companies finish their job because they cannot do more, but there is still a thin layer oil on the top of the water, even you don't see that, we can clean that up, and there is no dripping back because it not absorbs the water, just the oil. So let's make a short review for the conventional oil spill cleanup in the past, how there are other companies do the job. Just in short, there is a very good demonstration website I inserted below, you can see, where you can follow the basic steps and methods that are in practice right now. There are more unhealthy and hazardous methods. Specialists, professionals who do oil spill cleanup, they cannot do a complete job because they do not have the technology for that. First of all, for the biological cleanup. Burning of the oil, chemical elastomizers that makes a gelatin-like substance from the oil to prepare it for the easier removal, or chemical dispersants are very high risk for the environment, and actually it's poisoning the environment. Because there are no alternatives, that is the reason why scientists, professionals, advisors predict decades as a potential regeneration period after the cleanup, because they count with the harmful effects of the cleanup methods like that. I say they think there is no alternative solution because they do not know our technology. Let me say something about the chemical dispersant. It is the worst. It does not solve anything, just break the structure of the oil and enable it to sink. Their explanation is, on the ocean floor there are bacteria and they will eat the oil. Just go back 10 years later, how it looks the ocean floor now after Deepwater Horizon. It is not true. The correct explanation is cleanup companies prefer chemical dispersants because they have got hired and paid and they want to show up results. So they clean up the oil physically until they see the oil and they able to, but they cannot do more, and then just they apply dispersant, removing the problem from the surface and send it to the floor where it is invisible, and they say we're done. In this case, they can say they made their job, but the problem still exists and becomes for decades, damaging the marine and human health. I do not want to lose time here to talk about the Corexit Zoltan did a little bit at the Deepwater Horizon, but there was an 8 years of study when a scientific team proved with data. They have found toxicity in every single fish in the Gulf of Mexico, even 8 years later. They monitored from Florida offshore to Mexico coast, especially the most toxic PAH, polycyclic hydrocarbons, and surprisingly, the highest content of the PAH was found in one of the most popular seafood, the yellowfin tuna. This fish, known as they do not familiar on the bottom, they are traveling in the water body in the middle levels. It proves clearly the oil sediment on the floor is poisoning the water body from the bottom to the top, and also killing the ability of the phytoplankton and photosynthesizing plant-like organisms to absorb CO2 and produce the oxygen. This way, besides of the high level of chemical and biological pollution that Mississippi dumped into the Gulf, the oil sediment is another major player and cause of the dead zone that is formatting in the Gulf from time to time. This is the reason, one of the reasons, why we dedicated the cleanup of the ocean floor as our flagship project with our technology.
One more thing I would like to add to this, because this is a fairly new technology. As Attila said, that I know Attila for more than 10 years, but we never talked to each other about our business. Last year he came over to California, and then he started telling me about his enzyme, and I started telling him about my powder, and I say, oh my God, the two shouldn't exist without each other. And then so we came up with these formulations and solutions for actually cleaning the seafloor, surface waters on any hard surface. Basically, this product, this powder, I can remove the oil from emulsified state. You know how it is when you take oil and you mix it up with water, it becomes like milk, white milk-like liquid. I can remove the oil from there. I can remove the fat from milk, basically. So we can remove the fat from the milk. Like there are machine shops, so many machine shops where they use coolant. That's a 10% oil, and you have 9-part water in there, and they make an emulsion of it. I can remove the oil from there, and then the water can be reclaimed and could be treated chemically, and put it back to use. With this solution, I mean, we have electricity producing solutions. We have we can desalinate the ocean water. We can separate the ocean water to salt and drinking water, and we can make electricity with it at the same time. So there's so many use for this that it's an infinite project, and I'm kind of proud of it. It might not be much for a lot of people, but I'm proud of it. And we work very hard with Attila to try to implement this new ideas. This is an invention, so it's if you found something like this somewhere else, I would be surprised. We were talking to scientists, a couple of them knows about it, and they told us flat out. We were talking to people who, like, pharmaceutical companies. They are the scientists of pharmaceutical companies, and I never seen anything like this before. And yeah, of course, they would like to know our secrets, but there are those secrets that we cannot give out until.
Let's introduce the new technology, the organic ways, the biodegradation and bioremediation a little bit. Using bioremediation technologies is not a new thing. Oil cleanup companies use to apply microbes, fungi, bacteria on the surface, but in my opinion, they do not like it too much because it's a little bit risky and there is no spectacular result. The bioremediation materials and methods that oil cleanup companies are using are completely different than our organic enzyme. The key is the mechanism of action. In the end, we will show and prove something why I say this. In Japan, in the Okinawa oil spill, where mangroves was affected badly, Japan scientists applied microbes, and as the publication says, the result was from 20% to 50% reduction. That shows they do not have the good formula. How we clean up an oil spill like Deepwater Horizon and Wakashio, and basically what is the difference? First of all, we are not actually right now, we are not a full service oil cleanup company. We don't want to be a full service oil cleanup company. We are working in teamwork. It means we do not take the job from another oil cleanup company. We are working together with them. The physical cleanup is also important, but we make the most important part, the biological cleanup. No doubt, we can clean the oil up with our absorbent technology from the first minute, but we don't want to if it's not necessary. We can do this with the powder as a physical absorbent, but the best and the fastest is when the majority of the oil is collected with skimmers, booms, vacuums, and pumps. Let's say our job starts when theirs finished because they cannot do more with their technology. They make the physical cleanup, and when they reach their limit, we take the role and start our systematic work with the enzyme and the bioremediation agent. Our technology works in a biodegradation process. We break down the oil and transform it into harness material that is dissolving in the water circulation until the point of loss and transformed or consumed by microorganisms. We control everything with scientific testing and data measurements. We monitor different areas and intervene there where it is necessary. We can do that. Our technology enables us for that. The most important is in our job to listen and watch the environment, how it reacts to our job. What we basically do, decontaminate the polluted areas, make the environment strong, boost the immune system of nature that will make the rest of the job, regenerate itself in the best way and the unbelievable rate and short period of time. It was just reflecting to this part. It was very interesting to see when we were in Paraguay and made testing on Lake Ipacaraí, which is a heavily contaminated lake by blue-green algae. And 1 week later, after we applied the solution, the enzyme, the water at the test site cleaned up and the locals saw fishes. They had a comment, they didn't see fish from the waterfront for years. In an oil spill like Mauritius, based on what we see on the videos, the estimated cleanup activity is like 6 months, followed by an additional 6 months bioremediation period, which is scientifically controlled with a further enzyme powder application, reaching a complete regeneration. This way, like after 12 months, the polluted areas probably fully recovered into the previous status or better. Just remind you, scientists actually right now, today, predict decades of regeneration. let's see a little comparison between our technology. Yeah,
we
go ahead.
we talked with Attila about these things that, and I'm pretty sure most of you would like to see, how we can apply, let's say, a solution for something like, example, Mauritius. Mauritius is right now in chaos. They cannot go to the beaches because the police is protecting the beaches because they think there is something poisonous in the water. And according to some video we actually gathered online, someone did a private video and it shows that the water is really badly contaminated. And that might be due to when they towed the boat out to the waters and they sunk the boat, and then the towboat sunk as well. As a matter of fact, 4 people passed away over there, and they don't know. And I just think that they probably didn't know how to swim in oily water. I have a feeling that that's what happened over there. But from there, looks like the water is really dark, and there's like over 50 animals died, like dolphins, whales. They beached themselves because of that. They cannot live in poisonous water, and people cannot enter into that water. We can actually remediate that right now as it is. Now, what we were talking about before, and this is what my take on this is, that an example, Mauritius, we can go over there, we can test the waters and see what's going on. Whatever we see physically, we can actually remove that oil, we can remediate it, and then we can set up a very useful infrastructure in the region to be able to remediate all that stuff and keep manufacturing these products locally for further treatments. And these treatments, they can be used even when the oils is already remediated. They can maintain the life in the waters. They can keep the waters clean. It would raise the tourism, and everything else. These local solutions can be applied anywhere in the world, so we can create an infrastructure, something that actually makes money, not spend a lot of money, because that's where the main issues are. The insurance companies definitely will pay for the cleanup, but for keep the waters clean for years to come, they can have some sort of like a maintenance solution for keep maintaining the environment clean. And with that, of course, we fight the climate change and all that. We can that will bring the balance back into the oceans and the environment, the air quality, everything's going to be much better.
Yeah.
So this is how we fight everything at the root.
Yeah, just coming back to this comparison, we don't want to say too much about it because you had time enough to check, and after that you can see from the recorded webinar on the BCF website. It is very interesting to see the right side, our green technology, how effective and environmental friendly, animal, human friendly, and other more. And the other conventional technology, I don't say how bad, it is what it is. And when we see back for Exxon Valdez, Deepwater Horizon, Santa Barbara, or any other oil spill, there are still jobs for us.
It is still a work for us. Yeah.
This slide is one of the most important parts of this presentation because it clearly shows the situation now, how the oil spill cleanup organized today by oil cleanup companies, and how the cleanup and the restoration of the environment managed by us. If people see just only this slide, They can get a picture regarding the difference, and after that, they can check the whole presentation or contact us for details. Let's see the environmentally friendly part. A cleanup process which doesn't do the job and leaves a huge volume of toxic oil in the environment, it cannot be environmentally friendly. If we go back to any oil spill, we can see the track of leftover oil, even the 1989 Exxon Valdez catastrophe. There are videos on YouTube, oil on the rocks at the beach and still poison the environment. Or we can mention Deepwater Horizon 10 years ago. The oil sediment, which is estimated to from 10 million to 26 million gallons of oil. This last number is coming from scientists at San Francisco University, Pennsylvania, and still there, the oil is still there and poisoning the ocean. I mentioned before the fishes with toxic oil. A few weeks ago, Hurricane Sally washed a significant amount of oil to the beaches in Florida, and based on scientific opinions, it was clearly coming from the sediment. Otherwise, a cleanup process cannot be environmentally friendly when they use harmful materials which create other additional problems and leaves a footprint in the ecosystem. And they do. Especially when the wrong technology leaves the problem so long in the environment. Keep in mind, when we all know the acidification is one of the biggest problems in the ocean, the oil as a toxic and acidic material is the worst for the ocean. Why our technology is environmentally friendly? It is fully easy. Our solution and technology are coming from nature. Nature produces it. It's an organic base, and we just apply back to nature where it needs to get balanced. In the physical cleanup, the main player is the powder made by limestone with a special method and additional organic components. When we apply it on the surface, it absorbs the oil and only the oil. We are not leaving any material in the environment, but removing the oil by close to 100% rate. The key in the biological cleanup, the bioremediation, biodegradation with organic enzyme produced by and derived from earthworms. The earthworms and their enzymes were never reported as polluting agents for thousands of years. Their regeneration effects are well researched. Otherwise, when we use BrainSinox, the combined technology, there is no scientist on Earth who doesn't know the key role of calcium in the environment and in photosynthesis. So, we don't just regenerate and heal the environment, we build and replenish it with calcium, minerals, enzyme, and trace elements. Let's see the cost effectiveness. We can beat conventional technology prices by 70 to 80%. In other words, where the conventional technology invoicing, for example, $100 million as cleanup costs, there our full operation expenses for the cleanup and bioremediation is around 20 to 30 million. How can we do that? Because it's a new technology and works in a different way. What we do, it's an ecosystem engineering through a chemical engineering, which mechanism of action is simple. It does the majority of the job as an automated process because it's systematic. The oil spill is deadly biological pollution, changes the chemistry of the environment at a catastrophic level. What our technology and material do, it cleans up the oil physically at any volume in a simple way. Of course, there is a high volume of oil spilled. The best is when the thick oil layer cleaned up in conventional ways if possible. But when that is finished, our job starts. We clean up the thin layer on the surface and also apply the enzyme that does its biodegradation under scientific control, without human efforts, and we can restore the chemical balance in the environment in two ways. First, eliminating the pollution. Second, recovering the damages, replenishing the essential elements that decline, like calcium enzymes. Enzinox enzyme is a pure protein, and the enzyme is essential in nature. Nature, the environment, is a living thing, like humans. The human body contains around 75,000 of enzymes, mainly in the digestive system, and their role is support and catalyst processes care for the balance. Earthworm enzyme is a more regenerating, decontaminating, healing formula, but also balancing and regenerating at cellular levels. One thing is sure, you cannot clean up an oil spill only with physical efforts. You have to use the right biological material, but the current nanotechnologies are not right, just help somehow while generating further problems. So, as a summary, our new science organic green technology brings the fastest, cheapest, and comprehensive solution, and we can prove that in testing. Creating a duplicable protocol and solution is critical. Our goal and purpose: create a policy, protocol, and a first response task force that will work under coding and use the same protocol in different oil spills. We heard opinions regarding Mauritius that mention the oil spill over there is a difficult problem. We do not understand that because our technology is systematic, easy to use, apply, and works in the same way anywhere. So a protocol, wherever we are, can be followed easily. We just need to adjust it and apply it to the local circumstances at any future oil spill. This way, the response can be very fast. Everybody knows what to do and how to do because of the clear instruction. The worst is when an oil spill occurs, specialists, advisors is coming from everywhere and try to figure out what to do, which technology can work, and they are making ad hoc plans while the time flies and the oil emulsifies with the water and creates deep biological pollution. With our technology and protocol, everything will be simple, fast, and easy with minimal environmental damages that are reversible damages. We can prepare geographic regions for the future problems, and everything can be much more effective. Not just environmentally, but human and animal friendly. We can see pictures from recent oil spills when a high volume of local people, volunteers, contract with the oily, toxic environment because they clean up manually. Of course, when there is a disaster, everybody wants to help, but with our technology, we can minimize the number of people who can contract with the oil in any stage of the cleanup process. Another thing is the physical cleaning of animals. The powder absorbs the oily substances from the surface, from the skin of the animals, birds, turtles in minutes. Additionally, the detoxification, regeneration ability of the organic enzyme help them in the recovery. We made testing about that. The cleanup and regeneration period is also critical. It does matter how long the contamination, oil pollution exists in the affected area because it damages biodiversity and it all comes back to humans. If we poison the environment, it will do the same in return to us. Just think about Deepwater Horizon and the Just think about Deepwater Horizon and the statistics of health issues, effects, cancer on people. It is fact. People eat fish, and everything which is coming from the ocean. The existence of the coastal communities depends on the water, tourism, economy, jobs. So, a technology which is able to provide a complete, comprehensive solution, most importantly, within the shortest period of time, I think it worth to give a try. An oil spill like in Mauritius, the problem is complicated and complex because wetlands, mangroves, coral reef affected, but our technology is built to solve complex issues. Because our technology is working in a systematic way. In the physical cleanup, we do not have to make modifications because the technology absorbs and cleans up any types of oil without selection. We do have a few options and methods on how to make the application, and we can choose the best regarding the current circumstances. There are specific methods when we can reclaim part of the absorbed oil, which is, of course, cannot be used for the same as original, but specific industries can use that, like in construction or energy. The greatest benefit of our technology is the complete biological cleanup with biodegradation. The enzyme does not make a selection between toxic, harmful materials, even oil or harmful algae in the water, or toxic chemicals like DDT or PCB in the soil. It does the job, recognizes it's a harmful substance, and neutralizes it. In the biodegradation process, the enzyme is changing the components in the chemical substance, forming shorter and shorter chains until they become water soluble, ceasing to be dangerous in the water. It's a good question. What about the enzyme and the leftover remaining material after the process is done? The organic enzyme is also biodegradable, so after the process is done and there is no job for the enzyme anymore, it will biodegrade itself. The underwater and coral reef regeneration is very important. The current conventional cleanup technologies do not solve the problem at all. If it seems the problem is solved, it means the problem from the surface went out of sight, out of mind, and the problem is on the bottom. The technologies that we can describe as conventional technologies are not sustainable at all. It may solve a problem, but it generates another one, maybe bigger than the original problem. The main problem with an oil spill is the biological pollution when the oil emulsifies with the water and the toxic substances like PAH, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, spreads and poisoning, killing the biodiversity, changing the chemistry of the environment, makes toxic and acidic. The acids do not promote any kind of life but degrade it. It's also obvious nobody can dump chemicals, especially poisoning chemicals, into the environment. That is the reason why the solution is not easy, especially with the known materials that are able to reduce the harmful effects of the toxic oil somehow, but generates problems. Chemicals, synthetic materials like dispersants, those types of microbes, fungi, bacteria that used to apply in an oil spill like an antibody to the water. That is the reason why if there is an option to use an organic-based solution that is recognized by the environment and the water, and it can use it, build on it, because it cleans the environment and nature, can build on it, then a solution like that it always needed to get prioritized. The enzyme works also in the water body, underwater, on the bottom, and on the coral reef. We performed a test on the corals in Mexico last year, and our organic enzyme stopped the coral disease in a Favia fragum coral species in a laboratory experiment. When we use this enzyme together with the powder, then this solution works both the physical and biological ways. Because the problem solving has to start with the physical cleaning, because there is an oil layer covering the coral reef. The powder works in the same way on coral like on the surface. It absorbs the oil layer in touch, even underwater, because the powder stays dry underwater because it's hydrophobic. The question is, can we apply the powder to the coral reef without damaging it? The answer is yes, we can. Because it's an organic substance, it does not harm the coral. Because our formula is a temporary hydrophobic substance, after it absorbs and neutralizes the oil, the calcium released to the water environment. Part of it, building the structure of the coral reef. I guess everybody knows how important the calcium is for the coral reef. Anyway, this is the mechanism of action where we will clean up the ocean floor from the oil at Deepwater Horizon, which will able to regenerate the affected areas of the Gulf of Mexico. Actually, we are in the planning and research development period of this project. Wetland, mangroves, coastal regeneration. Just a few examples. Everybody knows how turtles born. Everybody knows how wetlands and mangroves are important to save the lands and how many creatures' lives do depend on them, not just above the ground level, but under it. At the roots of the mangroves in the sediment, there are full of microorganisms who are responsible to maintain a healthy plant. But you can imagine the effects of the toxic oil on them. It is much more difficult to clean them. Today, there is no effective and harmless technology for that. There are good bacteria and bad bacteria in the environment, same as in humans. But in a toxic environment, which is not killing them completely, the bad bacteria will grow. Same case with viruses. But an application process on the surface and on the bottom with the right material and technology that does the job, and the game and the changes will be changed. So there is a question. When anybody sees the green check marks on the right under our technology, and both scientific and logical approaches explain why we are right, then that is normal when we have given a chance for just to make control testing, right? For example, in Mauritius, we contacted the cleanup organization team, the insurance company, the political levels, but there is no answer so far. So if anybody has the right connection and the right place to the right people, think about helping and connect us. Anybody can challenge us and ask us to prove what we say, and we will take the challenge. We are also open to get support, help at any level, even philanthropic, organizational, business, or humanitarian level, because we need help to enter at a higher level. The ocean and the problem solving need help.
So, yeah, the next oil spills, if happen, we have a plan and goal and purpose. We had a great conversation with other organizations. I don't want to say names now without their approval, but we are on the same page. We want to establish a fast oil spill response system, a task force which can react very fast and we can go there immediately, because the key is how fast we can react and do the right job. We have a systematic plan and protocol for that, because there are two different things and other more different things. But first of all, if an oil spill happen offshore, like Deepwater Horizon, the protocol is completely different than when it happened like in Mauritius, because there are other certain steps what we have to do and will do, and what the cleanup team missed badly now, and this is the problem. We have a professional management who can do that if we get the power for that. As Zoltan mentioned, we develop the infrastructure and economy development of the impacted country, and actually they can build on the disaster, not lose but win.
They can make money with it.
I know it's weird to mention win, because of course they lose, but they can come out from this with the less damage as possible. So here is a video, and I don't want to say anything, just watch and we'll come back to this point.
Do I really have hope for the future? People ask me all the time. But my reasons for hope, the main one is the young people. Because when young people understand and we listen to their voices and empower them to take action, as you know, they can and are changing the world. Second reason for hope is this extraordinary brain, and it is bizarre that the most intellectual creature that's ever walked the planet is destroying its only home. And there seems to be a disconnect between clever brain and human heart, love and compassion. But things are changing, and I've talked to scientists who are working on innovations that are mind-blowing, that truly will make a difference and help us live in greater harmony with nature and give Mother Nature a chance to regenerate. Finally, there's the indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle what seems to be impossible and won't give up, and either succeed or inspire others to follow on in their footsteps until that goal is achieved.
Attila included a couple of videos that shows how the animals are kind of smart. You know, an elephant recognizes that there is a pollution, there is a can thrown out of a bucket, and the elephant picks up the can and puts it into the bucket, but checks the bucket first if it's a trash can or it's a recycling can, or it's there is water in there.
And then sometimes animal can do. Yeah.
So they're really smart. Animals are kind of smart. So why shouldn't we be smart? And that's what he's trying to say with those videos, kind of like inspiring videos to
sometimes
wake up
animal knows
humanity.
better what is the right thing. And that's a very interesting point and sad point. We can go from now here what happened 7 days before in Mauritius. Just a minute, sorry. Yeah, this is the video recorded there. Check.
Yeah, so I started saying that, 10 years ago I was dealing with them. I found out about the Corexit, and the gentleman who was working for the company who used the correct cities of this person. He's working for the lime company where we get the raw material for our product. Yeah, that one. Yeah, this is basically that video that shows private person made this video to show how dark the water is, and most likely there are some sort of poisons in there that the oil naturally floats on the top of the water, but something is wrong with that. That's why the dolphins and the whales they got killed.
Yeah, so it's what you see, it's very sad, but I say typical. Unfortunately, the cleanup in Mauritius, it is not transparent at all. There is a lot of secrets. They made a lot of mistakes, and it can be better, like an environmental crime, than a normal cleanup. I heard the opinion, it's not an easy and ordinary oil spill. As I said, we do not understand that. For those who don't know what to do and how to do, everything is difficult. For those who have a systematic and comprehensive, flexible solution, everything is possible, like for us. Of course, we also face decisions, but we have to make decisions between a good and better solution. We cannot accept the way how the oil cleanup managed in Mauritius. What we saw on this video now, it is probably an algae bloom. The cleanup management used or chemical dispersant or some kind of microbes, bacteria, without telling this to the authorities. Of course, they used because they are under pressure and they want to present a solution. Just unfortunately, the material reacted as it used to, as we see. The mechanism of action of the known bioremediation substances of the followed. They apply it to the surface of the water where there is oil, and at the same time they add nitrogen and phosphorus because it helps the growth of the microbial contingent. While the microorganism grows, they need a food source and they find it in the oil. This is the way how they bioremediate. It can be great, just there is a problem. The nitrogen and phosphorus as fertilizers support and feed the algae growth, and there is an aggressive algae growth. It is bad because it also consumes the oxygen from the water, and there will be a dead zone created. This is how the general bioremediation agents work, used by cleaning companies. The different in our organic enzyme, we do not apply any additional chemical to the water. Our enzyme is a pure organic material and does the job itself, as the scientific laboratory report shows. You can see this report, which is a red tide research made by the Sanders laboratory. This laboratory test result, what we have, you see the color of the water. It looks like what we saw the video in Mauritius. It is a red tide, Carenia bruis. We tested it in a laboratory with our enzyme. During the testing, both the control sample and the test sample where our organic enzyme was applied and tested was added nutrients, because otherwise the bacteria dies and nobody knows it died from the enzyme or because they didn't get food. This is one of the test results. You see the result, everything is clear. We tested 2 types of enzymes. The number of the Carenia bruis bacteria cells was 3,000 at the beginning. You can see that. This number was maintained continuously with nutrition in the samples between 2,000 and 3,000. The first sample enzyme killed the bacteria in 5 days. The second enzyme did the same in 6 days, while the original control sample showed 2,400 bacteria cells. You can see that. The next case narrative from another test shows a little bit closer. The control test started at 6,000 cell number and ended at 2,000 cell number on the 7th day, while it was nutrition added. The testing sample with Enzinox enzyme also added same amount of nutrients to keep the bacteria alive. One of the samples at the 18th hour, the bacteria cell number jumped up to 8,000. It looked very, very interesting. Why? Because the bacteria recognized the enzyme as a food source and grew temporarily from 6,000 to 8,000. But in fact, it was a Trojan horse effect, and after that, the enzyme got the bacteria from inside within 6 hours. The bacteria cell dropped for 1/4 in 6 hours from 8,000 to 2,000. This is how our enzyme works without adding nitrogen, phosphorus, and any harmful chemical. My comment: if the earthworm and their enzyme are harmful to the soil or the environment, then mankind knows about that in the last thousands of years. So if there are any technology out there which works to make a try, a test, it is. That's the last slide, and then we have time for the questions. On this last slide, let's see what we mentioned, the test on Lake Ipacaray in Paraguay on the blue-green algae. This test was performed by the University of Asunción, Paraguay. There was more testing points based on GPS and the following 2 sampling from the same place. You can see the original data on the left red square. You see the second sampling 8 days later where the enzyme applied. Most of the cases, the enzyme killed the cyanobacteria completely or drastically reduced in 8 days. The third sampling showed more reduction. It's on the red square. The green square on the right shows the percentage of the reduction. You can see a lot of 100% number. 100% means the enzyme completely removed and cleaned the water from the blue-green algae.
As everyone knows, nowadays there's a tremendous amount of issues with blue-green algae. In Africa, in Mozambique, I believe, they had like somewhere around 300 elephants they just dropped dead, and they didn't know why they died. They found out they were bathing in water that was contaminated with blue-green algae, and that's why they got poisoned, and that's how they died. So it is an immense issue right now that lakes, people cannot enter into lakes because of the blue-green algae blooming and so on. Basically, even in the oceans over here, we had issues with that. And that is something, we could solve. And it's kind of frustrating for me, our product, this powder, this calcium powder, it's a fire extinguisher. We had tremendous fires over here. I don't know if you saw it on the news, but like half of America was burning. California, I couldn't go outside because, it was so polluted that I couldn't breathe. And, we can use this powder to extinguish the forest fires. When this powder settles on the ground, it would repel the water if there is a rain afterwards. We can we can save lives, because usually after a fire, there is a rain coming, and then it washes down the like hillsides, and they have landslides, all kinds of issues, things that flooding, you name it. There's tremendous things that we can actually save with this, solve with this product, including the enzyme, and that one, it's a marvel on its own. That's how, the Lake Iparacay, or what do you call that, in Paraguay, they had a very good results. They're actually calling us back over there, I believe. We're going to be probably attending their meetings very soon. We were in negotiations with them, so we have solutions for everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Attila. Thank you, Mr. Zoltan. Thank you for your wonderful presentations. Thanks for all the participants who are joining today's BCF India International webinar. Thank you for all of you guys.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
And I do commend you on what you do. You're providing this platform for a lot of people. It's great.
Yeah,
it's a great thing to do. And I hope it wakes up all the humanity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Attila. Thank you, Zoltan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. When I dare to challenge the system that would relegate us to victims and stereotypes with no clear historical backgrounds, no hopes or talents, when I questioned that method of portrayal, a different path opened up for me. The path to my destiny. When God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it.